Though many teachers have greatly influenced my life at Sandy Valley, Mrs. Bigler has by far impacted it the most. Aside from being a fantastic teacher and a talented artist, Mrs. Bigler has always been a great friend to each and every student she has. I'll never forget the time where I was struggling with a portrait incredibly in class, and instead of telling me to quit or helping me out with just some simple throwaway advice, Mrs. Bigler took the time out of her day to grab another piece of paper, flip my reference photo upside down, look me in the eye and say, "You can do it, you just need to get out of your own head." I've carried that advice with me so much throughout my life, and it's incredibly important to me. And Mrs. Bigler isn't just great at giving advice. She's also kind to each and every one of her students and makes each of them feel valued and appreciated by always listening to what they have to say and always being there for them when they need them. I appreciate you so much, Mrs. B, and I miss you. And I'm gonna miss you after I graduate. Thank you for everything you've done.
The most influential teacher for me is Mr. Schwall. He has been my math teacher for the past 3 years. I have never had a teacher more passionate and dedicated to their job. As a result, he inspired me to excel during my career at Sandy Valley. He sincerely wants us to succeed, and it undoubtedly shows. Thank you, Mr. Schwall.
William Arthur Ward once said, "The mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, but the great teacher inspires." Mr. Carnes is one of the great teachers. Not only does he push us to be the best musicians we can be, but to also be the best versions of ourselves. He leads by example by conducting his band room with endless amounts of fun, kindness, and compassion. He's our #1 supporter, always there to listen and give advice when we need it, and to celebrate our successes. I'd like to thank Mr. Carnes for giving me valuable life lessons that I will carry with me through this next chapter in my life. I'll never forget Mr. Carnes in the band room and how it was my favorite place at Sandy Valley. Once again, thank you.
Since I'm going to YSU for a music performance major, who else has had such an impact on my decision other than Mr. Carnes? He has a unique kindred spirit and has made class interesting, fun, and informative. Even on the bad days, he has made my day better. There is not a single word to correctly describe him. For instance, he is lighthearted but can be responsible and honest at the same time. He has taught me so much about music, and I wish him and his family all the best in these trying times. Thank you.
For my teacher, I picked Mrs. Jernigan because she has the most fun classes, and she's always there for you no matter what you're going through, and she's been through so much, and I can't really imagine high school without her. She just got me through it with just being fun and always open to my jokes and how stupid I can be sometimes, and she's just always there, and she's just honestly just a great person to be around, and I'm going to miss her so much after high school.
After thinking it over, I finally decided that I was going to choose Mrs. Morris as my teacher. Mrs. Morris has always been there for me, regardless if it was crying in her office over an SVTV project or just being there for someone to talk to. I always could rely on her and Mr. O'Callahan to be there for me in his room or in her office just to talk and be able to get out what I needed to say. They've always been there to support me through all the decisions I've ever made, and they've always had my back regardless of what it's for. I wanted to thank Mrs. Morris for being a great teacher my junior and senior year of high school, and no matter what, always having my back. Thank you for all the donuts as well for class.
Hi, I'm Nash Monroe, and I'm honoring World Study Hall Extraordinaire Jeannette Harper. I had Mrs. Harper as my study hall monitor for the entirety of my junior year, from a teacher standpoint, she wasn't a teacher, but she taught me so many things on just how to be a good person and, how to care about people. She's kind, she takes a personal interest in you, and, she's like a motherly figure to, all 26 of us in that study hall. So she's really important to me, and she taught me a lot, and she's a great lady.
The teacher that I chose to honor was Mrs. Lamb. Not only is she an inspirational teacher, but she is supportive and caring for all of her students. She's passionate about her job and even more passionate about math, which is what I love about her the most. Mrs. Lamp is the most kind-hearted person I know and loves to celebrate perfect square days, which are my favorite days, because she gives out starbursts. I will always love how she cheers me on and supports me, whether it be through school or sports. She makes me a more determined athlete, student, and person. The thing I will miss about Mrs. Lamp the most is the fact that I won't be able to see her every day or hear that cheerful voice of hers. So thank you, Mrs. Lamp, for being you, and thank you for being there for me through it all. The teacher that I'm choosing to honor is my dental teacher, Mrs. Carter. Most people are asked to choose one word that best describes you or a specific person, but with Mrs. Carter it isn't possible. In the classroom, Mrs. Carter is not only a teacher, but also like a second mom to her students. She has also helped me in my journey in pursuing a career in the dental field. I remember going to her class knowing absolutely nothing about dental. I thought it was going to be the toughest class I would ever take. But with Mrs. Carter's teaching style, it was easy to remember everything. My favorite memories from dental were making dental valentines and acting out medical emergencies. Something I will never forget about Mrs. Carter is her laughs and corny jokes. She's inspired me in many ways and made me realize that I want to become a dentist. So thank you, Mrs. Carter, for everything that you have taught me and for being a role model in my life. I hope to one day be as great as you.
My chosen coach is Coach Reason. Coach Reason was my golf coach for the first 2 years that I played high school golf. One big lesson that Coach Reason taught me is that a little positivity can take you a long way. That lesson not only served me well on the golf course, but also at school and where I work. I just want to say thank you to Mr. Reason for always being such a positive role model both on and off the golf course, even when he was no longer our coach. I know for me, it had a super positive influence on my life, and I just want to say thank you.
The teacher that I've chosen to honor today is Mr. Schwall. He's been my math teacher for 3 years now, and every year he's made math very easy to understand and just has helped me throughout the entire time. Whenever there's a hard topic that I don't understand, he's always made it his mission to help me understand it and has just given it more attention. So I really appreciate that. And even in quarantine, he's making calculus very easy to understand and is helping me as much as possible. So I appreciate him very much for that. And I just want to thank you, Mr. Schwall. So thank you.
Many teachers came to mind when I found out that I had to write a speech program. However, the one person that stood out the most was Coach Geiger. It breaks my heart that Chloe, Kerrigan, and I did not get our senior seasons. However, I could not be more thankful to have had you, Coach, the past 3 years. We have made so many memories, and I know that even though we bug you every day at practice and make fun of you during games, I know that you will miss us, and we will miss you too. Thank you for all the life talks, all the advice, whether it was softball or not, and for all the memories. I love you, Coco.
From the time I was watching the seniors last year give their speeches for their teachers, I knew that I wanted to do Mrs. Bigler. I did not have her all 4 years, but she was always there for me when I needed her, and her classes were fun, and I got to express myself in a way that I can't really always do in my other classes, and she was always there as a friend, a teacher, a supporter, and she'd give the best advice, even if I didn't want to hear what she was going to say, and I would just like to thank her for everything she's done for me. It means a lot.
Hi, my name is Olivia Wagner, and some of the teachers I would like to thank for helping me through my high school career are my Perry Medical Academy teachers, such as Mr. Brothers, Miss Hallenstein, Miss Marsh, and Miss Dossel. And most importantly, I would like to thank Miss Haney. Without their guidance, I wouldn't have accomplished what I have today. Thank you.
I was influenced most by Mr. McBride. I was fortunate enough to have him as a chemistry teacher and a basketball coach these last 4 years. He has always believed in me and encouraged me in the classroom and on the court. He inspired me to be a better person, a teammate, and to always keep working hard for things I want to achieve in life. He was the one person I could always count on when I needed reassurance, advice, or just someone to talk to. Coach McBride has been my teacher, coach, and friend that has taught me life lessons that I will carry on forever throughout my journey. Thanks, Coach.
I have chosen Coach Haney as my special coach because she has always been there for me no matter what. She has always pushed me to be a better me. She has always tried to see the good in everybody, and if she hasn't, then she is pushing them to be a better person themselves. She's genuinely a good person, and I am glad that I got to know her in her time. I love you, Coach Haney.
I chose Mr. Schwall as my special teacher because of how involved and caring he is with his students. He truly wants his students to succeed, and he tries his hardest in any way to help any student he can. He understands his students, and he knows stuff can happen and homework might not get done on time, so he'll work with you. He's one of the best teachers I've ever had, and I learned so much from him.
My favorite teacher is Mr. Brothers from Perry High School. He is an English teacher, and he always knew how to make English class a lot less boring by playing music at the beginning of every class. He is such an amazing teacher and person all in one, and he always knew how to put a smile on your face or cheer you up if you were having a bad day. He is there for each and every one of his students, and he always gives the best advice. Mr. Brothers played a big role in my last 2 years of high school, and I am so thankful for him.
The special teacher that I'm choosing to nominate is going to be Mr. Schwall. For me, I feel like he had the best impact on me my freshman and senior year when I had him as a teacher because, well, math really wasn't one of my best subjects, but he just does a very good job at making things understandable to me. And he's just a very good teacher all around. And I had him 4th period this year, and his class was just very fun and interesting to be in, so I just wanted to thank Mr. Schwall for being an awesome teacher and helping me through pre-calc and all of my online classwork. So thank you, and congratulations, class of 2020.
Hi, I chose Mr. Schwall because he's a kind, loving, and caring guy. He genuinely wants the best for his students and wants us to succeed. So that's why I chose him.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Lee. First, I'd like to thank all of the teachers I've had throughout my Sandy Valley career. They've made me a better person and a better student. One person that comes to mind in particular is Mrs. Irwin. She has had me throughout all of my high school career, throughout novels, yearbook, and English, sometimes even twice a year. Mrs. Irwin has always been there for me, and that is why she's one of my biggest role models. She inspires me to be a better leader, to be kinder, stronger, and more understanding, and just be a better person in general. I'll miss you.
Hi, I'm Peyton Longo, and I chose Mr. Reinbaugh as the teacher I would like to recognize this year. I only had one class with Mr. Reinbaugh, and that was my sophomore year, and it was American history, which, no offense, is not the most fun to learn at 7:30 a.m. But it was always interesting to hear Mr. Reinbaugh's sarcasm, and it made history a little more fun. Overall, the best part of the class was watching the news every morning because it took a good 10 to 15 minutes where we didn't have to take notes, which is always a plus. Going into my junior year, I was taking cosmetology at Perry, so I wouldn't be at Sandy Valley to take any classes. So I knew I wouldn't get to take current events with my favorite teacher. But at the end of the day, when I would come back to Sandy Valley, I always knew I could go talk to Mr. Reinbaugh. I knew if I was having a bad day, he would definitely have something to say to make it better. My senior year, I got a little more busy, and I didn't stop and see him as much. And whenever I had to drop off a slip from the office to his room, he would always remind me by saying something along the lines of, "Oh, it's nice to see you too." But I think the best memory with Mr. Reinbaugh was when we would argue with the teachers who sit in the social studies pod at the table, including Mr. Tucci, Mr. Reinbaugh, and Mr. Reason. We would argue about the top 5 80s rock bands, and I still think my list is the best. I would just like to thank Mr. Reinbaugh for making high school a little more fun and easier and making me laugh and always being somebody I can talk to.
Being my math teacher these past 3 years, Mr. Schwall has always been there to answer any question I've had regarding math, my future, and everything in between. I will always cherish coming to his class, being his friend, and just being one of his students. Thank you, Mr. Schwall, for everything you've done for me.
I'm choosing Miss B to be the teacher that I honor just because she's kind of been like a best friend for me throughout my entire high school career, which I don't think a lot of teachers can say. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but she's just always there for you. She listens, she gives advice with no judgment, and it didn't matter if it was about my artwork and her pushing me to do better or just her helping me out with stuff that was already going on in my life. And she's just someone that I really, really appreciate and have so much actual love for. So thank you, Miss B.
The teacher I chose was Mr. Schwall. He really cares and will do anything for his students. Currently, I have him in pre-calc, but I also had him for freshman year, Algebra 1. Ever since quarantine, he's been doing Google Meets like every week, and we'll do ones like privately, like for today, because I've been working so much. But I just wanted to say thank you for an amazing high school experience.
The person who has influenced me the most throughout my time at Sandy Valley has been my dad, also known as Coach Offenberger. He's been there for me through everything, and I don't know where I'd be without him. He was hard on me, but it just overall made me a better person and a better athlete, and I just want to thank him for that.
Hi everyone, my name is Hallie Osborne and I am a proud graduate of Sandy Valley class of 2020. I would like to honor Senora Motz for being one of the most influential teachers I've ever had. She's the kindest, strongest, and most down-to-earth person I've ever met, and I hope to be just as strong and just as kind as she is. And finally, thank you, Sandy Valley, for making these years the most memorable years of my life, and I will never forget them, and I'm proud to be a forever Cardinal.
The first person I thought of whenever I was told I had to do the speech was Coach Shine. I wanted to thank you, Coach Shine, for all you do for Sandy Valley and the softball team. You do so much, and we are so thankful for you. And I will definitely miss your quirky jokes and giving us food after every single game, making sure I had my Mountain Dew, and fixing my glove every single practice because it would always break. I will definitely miss you next year. Thank you.
I've been blessed to honor a teacher that has greatly impacted my time here at Sandy Valley. I choose to honor Mrs. Kale. She has been instrumental in creating the person I have become. I had 10th grade English and composition with her, where she always pushed me to do my best. Beyond that, anytime I need advice or encouragement, she is always there. I know in the future she is just a phone call away.